On this occasion of Dashera, and I have to hold myself from entering into too many things that come to mind with regard to Dashera itself and the relation of the mother with Durga. There is a very beautiful relation she shares. She has even said, Durga is my daughter. She is the power of protection of the Divine Mother. And there are a number of conversations the mother had with Durga. So one of them was where she asked Durga that, why don't you surrender to the Supreme? Which is a very strange conversation. That little bit I'll recount, then come to him, to Durga. And then the disciple asks that, obviously it sounds very strange. She says, because all of them, these beings, the great beings, they are formidable. They have this sense of absolute power. They act like that. Directly the impulse of the divine comes and they act. And it's very difficult for them to even conceive of something beyond. This is given only to man. That part is there. For all our failings, there is one exceptional privilege that man can unite with the Supreme. This is an exceptional privilege denied even to the gods. Because gods are typal beings, they live in their own realms. But human beings can climb right from here and go up to the Supreme. This is something very beautiful. So that the recompense for all the struggles and the hardships that we go through. So she asked that, what should I do? She said, the mother says, this somewhere in 60s, that you surrender yourself to the Supreme, and when she does it, she experiences a great delight. And then the mother explains this whole phenomena. So Durga comes every year and she pushes all these evil forces back to their place. It's there in Durga Saptasati. If you read it closely, she doesn't kill them as is portrayed, but she pushes them back. So she says also Shumbhanishum will come in the next, or rather, according to Markandeya Puran, they will come again in the next kalp. Then again they will come as this. This incarnation which will take place is described. So she manages the balance by pushing them away. That's how she acts. But now Sri Aurobindo and the mother want a game changer. Because how long? They come back. And of course, human consciousness harbors them. So you can't go indiscriminately finishing. That's what mother says, that if I were to act and destroy the Asura of falsehood, who is behind all these dark beings. Mahishasura and all are chitta-pitta before, the real, the den of the devil, if you want to put it. So someone asked the mother, why don't you destroy them? She says, problem is that most human beings shelter them. So if she was to destroy, most of humanity will collapse, because it is living on falsehood. It's very difficult it's a very hard-hitting truth. It lives on falsehood. We don't even realize. Right next to Durga Puja Pandal, there will be Golgappas. And there would be on the same day things which are absolutely, she is truly a formidable power. So she says, so this time the plan is to either convert them or to reabsorb them back, because that's the only way. Energy can be either dissolved, reabsorbed back. You cannot destroy that energy. Whatever be the reason for its origin, that Sri Aurobindo and the mother have described at great lengths. So that's the whole story. In fact, mother describes the four main asuras who are behind all these asuric forces and her plan with them. So she had to ask Durga to stay on, because otherwise they hide. But that's not what she wants. She wants them to come out. So that's what we see as the action of the supramental force in individuals, in nations, in continents, in the world. All that there was hiding is coming out. So it's sometimes disconcerting to people. To individual sadhaks it becomes difficult to understand, but slowly one understands this is the plan. This is described in story of Agastya Rishi also, and how They hide in the subconscious, they come out and then they hide again. So they have to come out in the open. So often people, when they speak about things which are happening in the world, so I ask only one question: a cobra hidden in the house is better, or a cobra which is visible in the house? Answer is very obvious, isn't it? So that which was hidden is coming out, and this time it is coming out to be definitively, the whole thing has to be resolved definitively. Otherwise, it cannot never be it'll remain as seesaw, swinging backward, pralaya, again a whole creation. So this is the background of the mother's relation with Durga. There are many other. She said at one point that there is not a single god of any of the religions with whom I have not been in contact with. But here, there is a little different context, because this hymn to Durga, Sri Aurobindo wrote in the Dharma in October 1909, which means very close to his leaving for Chandanagar and then for Pondicherry. And if we look closely, this is the last document before Pondicherry that he writes. And during that phase, people often ask what was his role in the freedom movement. So, whether we look at Bhavani Bharati or Bhavani Mandir, Sri Aurobindo is awakening the Shakti in the land, because everybody had gone off to sleep with prayer and supplication to the British. And Sri Aurobindo says that the reason India fell, and this is important to remind ourselves any number of times, that if we remain a worshipper of the traditional Mokshvadi Dhara and the typical sannyas mat, then we can forget about both Sanatan Dharma and the rise of India. That is the reason why it fell. Because instead of worshipping Shakti, we started worshipping Mukti. Mukti in the sense of deliverance, not from ignorance, which is wonderful, not from ego, but deliverance from this world. So we became escapists. So that was the reason why India fell. Once we had this spell of Mayavad in the land, so Sri Aurobindo wanted to bring in this element of Shakti, and he says the reason India fell is because we stopped worshipping Shakti and the Shakti abandoned us. So this was the background, and so if we look at his writings and his role from 1902 to 1909, Sri Aurobindo is awakening the Shakti through the pen, through organizing committees. He organized the Anushilan Samiti, which we know later on graduated into RSS, and we know that they had in the beginning 1925. Now the stamp has been released where they have the image of Durga on the coin, and the prayer was started that way. So here Sri Aurobindo is invoking Durga as the Shakti of Bharat, because each of these gods have many emanations. So while it is Durga, but that aspect of Durga where she is a guardian of India, and the mother says every nation, a little bit here we need to also take into consideration what is so special about a nation, because there are two conceptions about a nation. One is that the nation is simply a soil, a stretch of land and mud. And once when Sri Aurobindo was asked about it, Sri Aurobindo says, do you think that I would do all this if I really believed, like the materialists, that a country is simply nothing else but some geographical boundary in a space of land? That's a materialist vision. That country is only mud and matter. So here he brings in, I think the first, there are people who have hinted at the nation's soul, but Sri Aurobindo has brought it out at great length and its relevance and importance. Otherwise, humanity, if it tries to jump from its present state, he speaks of 3 steps of Vishnu to organize or develop the group life, because we have an individual existence, second is a collective existence. So individual we all know, and that's a different discussion altogether, but the collective existence, there are 3 strides of Vishnu. First is family, where we learn the basic lesson that me alone is not enough. there are some others. So we are compelled to learn the great truth of sacrifice, which is how the Gita describes. By sacrifice, the world has been created. So, first lesson is in the family. Second is not clan or tribe. That Shri Krishna broke during the time of the Gita. That was Arjun's problem. My clan, my people, my tribe, my kula. And Shri Krishna very tacitly tells him to come out of that. And he establishes the kingdom, the Rajya, the whole Rashtra. That's the whole story about the Gita and the Mahabharata, Shri Krishna's action. So he is literally the Rashtrapita because he established in the truest sense Aryavarth. So we have the next step is the nation soul, where one learns that despite the extreme diversity and different challenges, yet we can come together. Now that's a big subject in which still it's going on. And like the individual, nations also go through cycles of discovery. So just as an individual in the beginning mistakes his vital as his own soul. So we'll see here people say, oh, I feel like this. That's me. But what they mean by this me is nothing but the desired soul. So he speaks of, for example, Germany. It was seeking its soul. It ended up discovering its vital ego as the soul. The same thing we see happening, last almost a decade, this manthan is going on in many nations about who they are as a nation. And it's important because unless we learn to organize ourselves at the level of a nation, how we'll do it, that's a different subject, and what should be done. We cannot leap to world unity because the moment mankind tries to do it without the nation unit, you will end up with a world state where one or two countries will have their hegemony or one or two ideologies will run over the world. It's a real danger. So nation soul becomes an intermediary unit where we practice this aspect, and each nation is like a Yajnavedi. It brings its own strength, its own unique power to the world yagna, and that's how nations should combine their strengths together to make humanity better, rather than, pull each other down. But that's one part of it. So for India, Aurobindo says that this process of having a very clear nation unit has been going on. And then he says that how he gives the secret, how to unite it. He says that, we must learn to look upon her as the mother. And he says this effort has been there. But for each group, for example, the Rajput, she was the mother of Rajputana. For Maratha, she was the mother of Marathas. For the Sikhs, she was the mother of, that whole. So we have to learn that she is the mother in which all these different streams come together. This is the secret he gives. He says, and if this feeling can be awakened in everyone, then it will even solve the Hindu-Muslim problem. If this idea of the motherland and common mother, we may have diverse beliefs and everything, but our mother is one. So this is how he started this whole movement with the war cry of Bande Matram. And though the first time this mantra had appeared in Anand Math, but Sri Aurobindo gave it a completely new dimension. He really galvanized the nation with the mantra Bande Matram. That's how the revolution in 1905 with the partition of Bengal had started. In that whole process of awakening, he finally awakens the soul of India through Durga's throat. So here, this aspect of Ma Durga, who is the guardian deity of India, and Mother has also confirmed that yes, she guards the Indian borders all around. If you really look at it, I was just, certain things are very interesting, they happen. If you really look at the map of India and try to make an impressionistic picture, you will end up probably, making her feet touching the waters and her hands and her head and the lion. And the lion on whose feet she is standing in the mother's, map of united India. It's something like Akhand Bharat. Some mother said it's the spiritual map of united India. And it was made after India's liberation. It was made in 1954 because people thought probably she has made it pre-partition. She said, no, 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 it has been made later on because this is the truth of Bharat. But see the interesting part. Durga ji stands on a lion. And at the tip of this map, you see Sri Lanka. Anything is striking? The flag of Sri Lanka. And what are they called as? Sinhalese people. Strange. I don't know. I mean, are lions so common in Sri Lanka? Not to my knowledge. Just look at it, how intuition can enter. And every time I see the map, the flag, I said, this is something they have caught some hint, some truth from, from of this truth of India. It completes the picture of India. Sri Lanka in that is a part. Now she is not saying part means annex and make part. No, not that way. Let's be very clear. It's not about expansionist that, China says Taiwan is my part, so I must possess it. She is speaking of forming a confederation of nations, which is what SAARC was an effort towards. So this is the secret truth of India, and it will keep on pushing itself for manifestation. That's how she spoke of Pakistan becoming one, by breaking into different 5 parts. That's what she had said. And we can see that happening because this is the secret truth. So in that context, Aurobindo is invoking Mother Durga, that aspect, who guards India. But when he invokes, now it's very easy to invoke a goddess, because you have to read some people read a mantra or chant. But are we ready? Repeatedly Mother says that, one of her messages towards the later part, 67 men, countries, continents, the choice is imperative, truth or the abyss. Then 68, she says, it is the hour of God. 69, are you ready? So, repeatedly the problem is when people ask, where is the supermind? So the question is, are we ready? Because even if everything is prepared to precipitate, man is still living too much with selfishness and ego, and gods absolutely don't like it. They really don't like it. At one place, Mother says, one small anecdote, then we will read. So when one lady from Bengal, Jaya, I'm forgetting her surname, a Bengali lady, she had come to, it is believed widely that she was Yashodama, and she had come to the ashram. And she had to tell her people that I want to visit Rameshwaram, because a woman could not go out, just like that. So she had the money, but instead of going to she wanted to come to the ashram. She comes to ashram. So Aurobindo smiles and asks, why you don't want to go to Rameshwaram? She says, I have seen the living Rameshwar. Why should I go elsewhere? And then as the story goes, that she says one day, next life, do whatever you may, but don't make me a woman. And he asked, why? This 1928. He says, you have no clue what is happening to a woman. Everywhere in the world. This is not India. Everywhere in the world. And most places even now. So-called developed countries. You don't get a chance. So she says, what I had to do to come to you? He smiles and says, don't worry, I am changing the age. And in the times that are going to come, you don't have to, the women will be so free, so everything will be with them. So he says, he gives assurance in 1928 that I am changing the time. See, this is how the divine works. He doesn't he says, I'll change the constitution. I'll change the system. That's what you expect. You don't expect him to just release one person, second person, okay, I don't make you a woman. That's not a solution worthy of being divine. And we see how true it is. And at that point of time, when she had come initially, she wanted to do puja because of the background. She wanted to do puja of Mother and Aurobindo as Shiva and Durga, Parvati, but in the Durga Swarup, on the Dashera day or Ashtami day, Ashtami it was. So they agreed generously. So she did all that altar and everything she did. So very fine. So next year again she asked, Then mother said, do you really think a God likes to be worshipped like this? Then there is a very big conversation. They are much more happy to see a true bhava inside. When courage awakens, a true worshipper of Durga is Arun Khetrapal, who is on the borders blowing up the tanks with, that is the worship of Durga. That's what Durga appreciates, not simply going and worshipping, then hiding in our little cocoons with fear and wanting her only for material things. That's not what she will give. That's a different story altogether. But the true worship, that's why we see Sri Aurobindo has changed the way even the worship of the gods and goddesses, which tomorrow we'll read about the 4 aspects. So what does Durga ji want from us? We go to God with our own list. I want this, I want this, I want this. 99% of the time, given our state, gods won't come. You can keep an idol, you can't compel God to come. And if they come, they will see through what we are and who we are. And unlike the divine incarnate, which is what I am speaking of, Mother and Sri Aurobindo, where, they would extreme compassion. They will see what we are, but still, the gods are very specific in their action. They don't care. So if you call Kali and Kali sees you are the one who is one of the asuras, you have called for somebody else, first she will strike a blow at. And this is also a real story when ashram was attacked in 65 by the Christians and the then DMK people. So people wanted to go back and retaliate. She kept them quiet. After 8 hours, she said, okay, now you can go. So she was asked, why did you stop us for 8 hours? She said, Kali had come and she was furious. At whom? Not only them, but even on many of you. And if I would have just let loose, many of you would have been. Because you may think in your Josh that, I am defending or acting on behalf of Kali, but Kali will see through. You can't hide anything from her. So I had to hold her, contain her. I had to tell her, they are my children, you don't worry. When she went away, then there is a person who goes, few people went, and among them, on this last little story, there was a man called Toga. He was grandson of Bhagajatin. Bhagajatin was one of the earliest revolutionaries. He was part of the Anushilan Samiti. And he was dreaded by the Britishers because story went that he had killed a Bagh single-handedly. Without any weapon. That was the kind of strength. And he was a disciple of Sri Aurobindo. And his grandson who studied, he went out. I met him, very, very nice boy, but very frail. You can't imagine that this man can fight, but actually he went out, that blood of his grandfather. And he went out, but very much he loved justice and truth and too straightforward to a default, and went and fought, and he repelled everybody. Finally he was hit himself, and then he fell down in a nala, became unconscious, but obviously came out, and mother describes is actually Durga came over him and she used him as a living weapon, and nothing could have happened to him. He fell down, but he did what he had to do. So that is the action of Durga. She's not just putting her in a pandal, so that we must as Indians understand that the worship of God, what it means to invoke her. So this is the background. The hymn was originally written in Bengali and translated by Nolini Da in English. The translation was shown to Sri Aurobindo, who revised the first stanza extensively. It underwent revision. So what we are really reading is not the exact translation word by word of the Bengali. It is the English version, and which is unnatural because Sri Aurobindo never believed in a literal translation. And this is with approval of Sri Aurobindo, with his blessings and approval. So, what we are going to read is the English translation of hymn to Durga. And mother says something very beautiful. So, we should probably just a few minutes spend in quietude, remembering this for those who love India and wish to work for a greatness. This is the bhav that should be there. It's not just a mechanical reading. That's why I felt that we should read it. Let's do it with all the bhav in our heart. With my blessings, the Mother. Hymn to Durga. Mother Durga, rider on the lion, giver of all strength, Mother, beloved of Shiva, we born from thy parts of power, we the youth of India are seated here in thy temple. Listen, O Mother, descend upon earth, make thyself manifest in this land of India. Mother Durga, from age to age, in life after life, we come down into the human body, do thy work and return to the home of delight. Now too we are born, dedicated to thy work. Listen, O Mother, descend upon earth, come to our help. Mother Durga, rider on the lion, trident in hand, thy body of beauty, armor clad, Mother, giver of victory, India waits thee, eager to see the gracious form of thine. Listen, O Mother, descend upon earth, make thyself manifest in this land of India. Mother Durga, giver of force and love and knowledge, terrible art thou in thy own self of might. Mother, beautiful and fierce, in the battle of life, in India's battle, we are warriors commissioned by thee. Mother, give to our heart and mind a Titan's strength, a Titan's energy, to our soul and intelligence, a God's character and knowledge. Mother Durga, India, world's noblest race, lay whelmed in darkness. Mother, thou risest on the eastern horizon. The dawn comes with the glow of thy divine limbs, scattering the darkness. Spread thy light, Mother, destroy the darkness. Mother Durga, we are thy children. Through thy grace, by thy influence, may we become fit for the great work, for the great ideal. Mother, destroy our smallness, our selfishness, our fear. Mother Durga, thou art Kali, naked, garlanded with human heads, sword in hand, thou slayest the Asura. Goddess, do thou slay with thy pitiless cry the enemies who dwell within us. May none remain alive there, not one. May we become pure and spotless. This is our prayer. O Mother, make thyself manifest. Mother Durga, India lies low in selfishness and fearfulness and littleness. Make us great, make our efforts great, our hearts vast, make us true to our resolve. May we no longer desire the small void of energy given to laziness, stricken with fear. Mother Durga, extend wide the power of yoga. We are thy Aryan children. Develop in us again the lost teaching, character, strength of intelligence, faith and devotion, force of austerity, power of chastity, and true knowledge, bestow all that upon the world to help mankind appear. O Mother of the world, dispel all ills. Mother Durga, slay the enemy within, then root out all obstacles outside. May the noble, heroic, mighty Indian race, supreme in love and unity, truth and strength, arts and letters, force and knowledge, ever dwell in its holy woodlands, its fertile fields, under its sky-scraping hills, along the banks of its pure streaming rivers. This is our prayer at the feet of the Mother. Make thyself manifest. Mother Durga, enter our bodies in thy yogic strength. We shall become thy instruments, thy sword slaying all evil, thy lamp dispelling all ignorance. Fulfill this yearning of thy young children, O Mother. Be the master and drive thy instrument. Wield thy sword and slay thy evil. Hold up the lamp and spread the light of knowledge. Make thyself manifest. Mother Durga, when we possess thee, we shall no longer cast thee away. We shall bind thee to us with the tie of love and devotion. Come, Mother, manifest thyself in our mind and life and body. Come, revealer of the hero path. We shall no longer cast thee away. May our entire life become a ceaseless worship of the Mother. All our acts a continuous service to the Mother, full of love, full of energy. This is our prayer. O Mother, descend upon earth. Make thyself manifest in this land of India. So it's a whole program. It's a whole yoga actually, and to those who want to really do something for India and through India to the world. So this is the way first to remember who we are. Right in the beginning, Aurobindo sets the record straight. Who are we? First he says, we are inwardly portions of the Divine Mother. Without that identity, all the rest will not work. As long as I am this caste, this party, that politics, it won't work. First thing is I am a child of the Divine Mother. That's the first thing. Then who we are, whose blood flows into our genes, our DNA. You have to remember Bhishma and Drona and Arjun and the great heroes and many others who have, paved the way. That is what India is. So we are the Aryan children, and Aurobindo speaks about the Arya he was, and Swami Vivekananda, and of course there have been historians a little before that. Swami Dayanand Saraswati, they were some of the first people who said that the Aryan Dravidian theory is completely a bogus thing. So this north-south divide which was created, Aryan is a psychological type, and India is the one and only country that I know which has tried to create an ideal mold of humanity in which we are meant to grow. So if we don't have an ideal, what do we grow into? Just me, myself. So there is an ideal. We did it through Ramayana, through Mahabharata. So there are several ideal characters, and all of them can be summed up in the Aryan, the ideal Aryan. Aryan is a warrior, but he fights for truth, for justice. He is an Aryan. He is a warrior who fights within all the Shadripu and all the demons which are inside. He is an Aryan. Aryan is also a farmer who tills the human soil of nature, Kshetra Kshetragya Yoga, and brings out of it the flowers and blossom of plenty. So within us is the divine seed. Aryan is somebody who brings it out. So this aspect is, so this is the Aryan. Aryan is, by the word itself, comes from, it shares a common lineage of words, Aristos in Greek, and Aris. So it means noble, high, pure. So India has always been known as a land of Tyag and Tapasya. And what happens when India becomes sankuchit and narrow? When it becomes very small, selfish, egoistic. Mother was told that this is the number one problem, selfishness. And at one place he says, Aurobindo writes, selfishness and meanness are the only sins that I find difficult to pardon. Yet they are universal, therefore we should just, because... And then he says, faith and courage are the only virtues. You see, this what he says, fear. Fear and want to help a nation to rise great, it cannot be done with fear. What may happen? What will happen? If we do this, this calculating mind is always afraid. Go ahead. If you feel inspired, do it. That's how we have the story of Bhima. Mother Gandhari, if you had 200 children, I would have destroyed all of them. That's called the afflatus of the divine. And you feel there is something divine about it. You don't feel he's sinning, all this conception. And that's why we see in the Gita, first thing that Shri Krishna removes from Arjuna is fear. He says, what is it that you are not afraid of? You are afraid of 101 things. How are you going to be an instrument of the divine? So to slay fear, Mother says fear is the worst kind of impurity. And to awaken courage. See, this is the land where Satyakam, as a little child, 5-year-old, goes to a hermitage. This story in the Chandogya Upanishad, and he says, I want to enroll myself as in your school, which is supposed to be the best. Brahma Vidya is taught, and he says, who is your parents? He comes and asks his mother, because he never seen his father. And mother says, I don't know who your dad is, because I served many masters. But this I know, that I am your mother. He goes and tells it to Rishi Dhrut Gautama that my mother says that she knows for sure that she is my mother, but she doesn't know who my father is. And the Rishi says, a lady, woman who can say this is a woman of very high stature. This is India. And he says, come in. He himself, Satyakam Javali, is a famous story in Chandogya Upanishad, which comes toward the end when, Dwapar is, Krishna has already come and gone. And this greatness and where we have gone into small little divisions and small little... He doesn't ask caste of the lady. And what was asked about the Kul was, do you come from a noble lineage? Nobility was this. It was not a surname. Do you come from a noble lineage, a lineage of those? It was there in every country. It has lost its samurais. See what happened to Japan. Externally it is doing everything, but it's losing that cult of the samurai. That was the Aryan. So he awakens in us our own lineage, our own true, that we are Aryans who are, courageous and who give themselves wherever they look for a noble cause. They fight within and they shrink not from any battle within or outside. And this is the basis on which India has reclaimed its freedom and continues to. Many of our soldiers practice it knowingly, unknowingly. So this is what he awakens. Then he reminds us both of our heritage, of who we are. Then he says, what is the disease? What is the disease of India? Disease is selfishness, narrowness. Disease is not lack of courage. Disease is fear. An average Indian still, very unfortunately, feels very proud and happy if his child is studying abroad. It's a very, I must say it's not a very, they're very proud about it. So they feel very proud if the child is got a job outside. At least the least is that, study by all means, come back, bring that expertise to India. So that selfishness, meanness, all this must go if India has to become great. So courage, nobility, And Sri Aurobindo says about the word Arya, there is no word in the history of mankind, in the linguistics of mankind, than a nobler history than the word Arya. That's why he had named it Arya, his monthly review. So he reminds us who we are. Then he makes the whole map of India, which is through the rivers and the forest and the mountains. That's how the rishis had created the map of India. How was India known as Jambudvip? Himalaya, the great mountain, and the river on the three sides, the sea on the three sides. The three sides sea was known as Dravida land. Why? Because Dravid, Drav, water. So it had nothing to do with any South Indian. Dravida, it is literally a land with that part which is surrounded by water. That's all that it meant. Matsya Avatar story is from the Dravida land. That's how it starts. But anyways, so this is the state of ignorance in which we are plunged now, that we just accept anything which comes. So he says courage. Then he says that we are invoking you. For what? Make us your instruments. What kind of instrument? To dispel darkness. But to become your instrument, we must first dispel ignorance within us. That's what we read. That how to become an instrument of the divine. That's what the divine wants. Prayer, worship, bringing an idol, anybody can do. Many people can do it. But to become a living embodiment of that power, to manifest that power, this is the difficult and challenging task. So he calls her, and then he says that this time, and this is interesting that we are doing it on Dashera, after which you are supposed to take back the goddess. But no, we don't want her to go. We want her to be with us. But to keep her, we need faith and devotion. And then he says finally, what is the puja of the Divine Mother? He says, and he uses the word hero path. So hero path is the path given to man. There are three kinds of path. This is straight from the Tantra. One is the Pashu, like the animal. So you have Pashupati as the Lord. So animal type. So not much is expected when you worship the Lord as a Pashu Bhav, say. Pashu Bhav is something which doesn't care about what one is doing. Somehow one does, mechanically does the puja rituals, and that's the Pashu Bhav. And then there is the highest, which is Deva Bhav, the Dev Koti, purely from within you are doing it. But there is in between the hero path, the Veer, that's given to man, to take the challenges, to fight, to struggle. So he uses the word, yes, revealer of the hero path. She is the one who leads those who are ready for the hero path. And then she says that, Sri Aurobindo says that we will tie you with these cords and will not let you go. You be with us and manifest in this land of India. So this is the last part we'll read. And he speaks about even asking Mother Durga to enter into our bodies in thy yogic strength, to make even the body a receptacle and vessel of Durga, the guardian power of India. When Mother was asked how to help India, she said, love, find your psychic being, love India with your soul, and you will help her. So, yogic strength, and speaks of becoming our instrument. And the last part we'll read. Come, revealer of the hero path, we shall no longer cast thee away. May our entire life become a ceaseless worship of the Mother. All our acts a continuous service to the Mother, full of love, full of energy. So worship is not just offering some flowers. Everything that we do in life should be an act of love dedicated to the divine. So it becomes a ceaseless worship, and all our acts a continuous service by dedication to the Divine Mother. And naturally when we do it, we'll do it with care, with love, with all that it's Mother's work one is engaged in doing. Be it cooking a meal, be it, speaking, be it playing a game or practicing medicine, whatever we are doing, or playing the cello, whatever. Everything should become a worship and service of the Divine Mother. So this is the part. Thank you. Such a beautiful thing on Vijayadashmi day, through a strange of circumstances, sitting in Hastinapur, I mean, I am not using Gurugram and Delhi. Hastinapur will include it. To read this is such a delight. Yes. If there is anything anyone wants to say, share, ask. Slok 4, yes. Yes.
Before I take some question, there is an announcement. The lane people are going to have Ravan there in this plot opposite our center. So those whose cars are parked, can please move them.
Otherwise, with the Ravan,
With the Ravan,
chariots go.
so whoever the car is there, who can join us that in this plot.
Okay.
Yes. Ravan is going to be safe.
Modern Ravan is likely to run away with the car.
Only one plot. Just move your car and then come and join us. Only from the plot. Plot.
Okay, so
But
yes,
the risk is yours.
if it is insured, then risk is not even yours. So, yes, so बोलिए. Giver of force. Titan strength. Yes, thank you for drawing the attention. So, this is straight from. Yes, yes, yes.
I'm asking the Titan's force.
Yes, yes, yes.
And for the
Yes, thanks for pointing the attention. Yeah. The character and intelligence. So, this is the original Vedic understanding of Sur and Asur. Aurobindo has spoken of this even in a letter. The word Asur is a very misunderstood term now. It's mixed up for all kinds of things. But originally, Sur and Asur, they were two sides of the one divine reality. It comes in Savitri also. So, divine is at once knowledge and force, many other things besides. So, when creation starts, then all these aspects go into creation one by one. Shiva is representative of force, just as Krishna of Ananda, Satchidananda, original Satchidananda, if you want to look at it like that. Sat or existence is Brahma, and Chit is Vishnu, and force, Chit Tapas is Shiva, and Krishna is Ananda. That's a different discussion. But the force aspect went into creation becomes the Asuric element. Divorced from knowledge, it becomes dangerous. Equally, knowledge divorced from force is incapable. So this comes in several other places. For example, in the Samudra Manthan story. So, Brahaspati Guru, no, Lord Vishnu himself, he says, look here, you need to churn the ocean. So they say, okay, we'll do it. He says, you cannot do it alone. You have to take the help of the Titans. So it looks very strange. What's lacking in the gods? So this aspect of, at a more psychological level, unless one has awakened within oneself the force aspect, one cannot be arrive at the fullness of a godlike nature. And there is an aphorism of Aurobindo, and where he speaks about admire also the Titan, because that strength, he represents force, and in the current context of the religious aspect, Aurobindo has an aphorism where he says, Christ came with his message of love and compassion, and Muhammad came with force, because it was necessary to understand that love alone is not sufficient, but equally force alone is not sufficient. And then he speaks of the future where both these will be combined and integrated with knowledge. So Muhammad represented that force. If you look at that whole thing, and I have a whole talk on this, that how, why they still feel something towards Shiva. They have this strange tendency. Some of the Maulanas, we also speak about Shiva. There is a whole story about whether Mecca is, Shiva, because they have come from that. And these are the people who are very destructive, and force does that. And yet the Asuras are dear to Shiva. because they carry something of that force. But devoid of knowledge, which is what happens after the Sagar Manthan, they are dangerous and obviously destructive. So he is asking to combine. We need, if we really want the nectar of immortality from within us, and not just to be goody goody God, oh he is so saint-like. No. Saint-like is different. You are revered, put on a pedestal, that's the end of the story. But to be really mother's instrument, one has to have both knowledge and strength. And at one place he says also a converted asura, because he has fallen from that aspect, is much more useful to me than an innocent angel. Mother's words. Because your capacity to effectuate will be much less. And that's why in yoga, and that's why Aurobindo says that man has to face severe struggles and challenges, because otherwise he will forget that there is this aspect of force. So all the challenges of life help in awakening the force. You have no choice. At that point of time, you just can't. And divine, you will pray to divine and you are helplessly, he will still not intervene till something in you awakes. Because that's the whole purpose. That there is an aphorism like that. So this, in this world, both gods and the titans have their role to play. Even titans are the elder brothers, because force comes first. You see brute nature, the mankind in its early phases, fighting with the mastodon, with the tiger and all that, with raw strength. So force comes first. And the gods come later. Gods have a relatively easier task. So in our Indian mythology, Balaram comes first. He tills the soil. And then Krishna plays the flute. Nice. Of course, Krishna, Kurukshetra is one part. But that's how it is. So both are required in mankind if man has to fulfill his role in the integrality of the divine. Love alone is not enough, and force alone, of course, is dangerous. So both must come together and join. So this is very powerful. I'll read this out. Mother, beautiful and fierce, in the battle of life, in India's battle, we are warriors commissioned by thee. Mother, give to our heart and mind a titan's strength, a titan's energy. To our soul and intelligence, a God's character and knowledge. So both are important if we want truly India to rise. Yes, please.
Why should we create this strong relationship with Durga and India itself, not as a word? Because
yes.
First of all, if somebody else is looking at it, she will not feel inspired by Durga, because these people are just keeping it for themselves and not living in the rest of the world.
Yes.
Something which is God is in the whole world, and God is in India.
Yes.
So,
good question. So I got it. That's the sentiment which all of us grow up with. And this is what I answered in the beginning, why. So supposing I'll take a simple example that, I say that I don't care so much, I will take care of the world. Nowadays many ideologies are like that. So what happens? Now a nation unit is the step. It's like asking a child who is in kindergarten or primary class to straight away go into the PhD. Man has to first learn to handle the diversity within the nation unit, and each nation has its own unique strength. It's like the brain has to perform the function of the brain, the heart has to perform the function of the heart. And while the energy that we take in through food and breath goes to every organ, yet each organ has a special function to fulfill. So first thing is that the nation's own energy, it's not antagonized. See, the mind thinks either or, that if I love my country, I don't love the world. No. On the contrary, if I love my country truly, I'll do the best good to the world. I'll take a few more examples. That supposing I have a natural flair for, let's say, medicine or, painting or music or whatever it is. Now people have this idea that you serve the country only if you are on the battlefield. It's not true. If I express my own truth in the best possible way, it's my contribution to the world, and it will happen through that in which I am capable of. So India is capable of giving something to the world which nowhere else you find. And this is something which all of us know. I know by direct experience of traveling to all the continents, that what you find in India, that spiritual aspect, is missing elsewhere. I'll come to that last aspect of the question, whether people will accept it or not. So India must fulfill its mission in her own way. We shouldn't become like Japan, a westernized nation. This is what will happen. If supposing we ignore the nation unit, that why India, why not the whole world, then this whole world will become either an American hegemony or it will become a communist world. Because this is then it will be a question of any ideology, or maybe Islamic, even worse. Because then there is nothing like a national identity. It's just one idea. So in nation we learn the lesson of unity in diversity. It's a very challenging thing, but in a very small unit. Like in a family we learn that people may be different, brothers, still we live like brothers. So at a larger context we hear about a nation. Now the question is whether people will like it or not. That answer is very, very simple. One should never act based on what people will like or not like. One should act on what is true. For Aurobindo and for many of us, Durga is a living goddess. Should I deny that because somebody may say, oh, no, Durga is a religious symbol? Fine. See, can you imagine why? This is something which I often ask people. We speak of, I love to be frank in conversations. Islam ruled the world and this, that, despite being brutal, despite all the things that they do. Why? Because at least they did what they believed in. We are dilly-dallying. Had we stood, if we stand, okay, fine, you believe in what you do, I believe in what I do. This is the first lesson, Swadharma. That's what the Gita says beautifully. Swadharmo nidhanam shreya, paradharmo bhayava. Now, in this land, it is nurtured by Durga. The geography of the land is by the, Mata Sati ke parts. You see it, you will see the whole geography. Mata Sati from Hinglaj to, go around, it will make a... This is the history of the land, this is the culture of the land, and if we deny it because of the wave of internationalism and world unity, world will be deprived of the most beautiful gift that India could give to the world. It will become another vassal nation. So it's important. Not with any animosity, certainly not. With the idea of bringing to the Yajna-vedi our best. Our best is spirituality and an integral spiritual vision. We should bring that. Somebody will bring technology. Somebody will bring ideology. That's fine. Like France brings unity, liberty and fraternity. It's their privilege and it's something beautiful. So that's why it's important. Otherwise, if we... now, again, people who don't like... I advocate personally that Ramayana should be taught in Indian schools. Now people say, but it's a religious... I said, no, it's cultural. It's my history of my land. And see the difference. Living example. Recently, some of us may have noticed, there was a meeting of the 14 Islamic countries. Has anybody noted something very interesting? Okay. So in the meeting, Israel was discussed and our Babaji was there, Uncle, Sam uncle. And the only country which spoke that Israel has a right to its own land, the only Muslim country, Indonesia. Majority Muslims. And the president has the prime minister. He started with Om Shanti and ends up with Om Buddhaya Nama, and he says, I have no problem because this is my culture of my land. I am a Muslim because that's the religion I believe in. This is a false antagonism, and we have played in the hands of people who have created this divide. There is no divide, it's my culture. In Pakistan, if you teach people that, look here, you have a Vedic past, but fine, you can be a Muslim. Tomorrow if a new religion comes, for example, if I am a devotee of Aurobindo, doesn't mean I deny everybody else the right to be what they are, even they have a right to be atheist. This is the falsehood which has come around, that if you are a Hindu, you are hurting a Muslim, or if you are a Muslim, you are hurting a Hindu. No. In this land, it's a land which has been built by the Tyag and Tapasya of Rama and Krishna, and these are our past, we cannot deny it. We should learn about them. Then we can say, okay, this much I want to keep, I don't want to keep that much. But by doing it, we have done a great disfavor. Under the same spell that we will hurt somebody, somebody may not accept it. Fine. There is no idea in this world which everybody will accept. Yet the idea prevails. Look at Napoleon Bonaparte's life, French Revolution. they had the whole thing to overthrow the king. And the king and the queen died. They thought they won the revolution. Strange part is, after 10 years, an emperor springs up. Emperor is Napoleon Bonaparte. And strangely still, he is the one who seeds whole of Europe with the idea of freedom, equality and fraternity. Strange. Same thing happens during the time of Augustus Caesar. So if we look at history, you see there is an idea which comes, it meets with resistance. But if it is true, it must be spoken of. Doesn't matter. Let people feel bad, good, that's their prerogative. Everybody has a right to feel the way they do. But we in India have restrained ourselves from speaking out with, because we automatically, theek hai, chalne do. That's where we should. Doesn't matter. Yes, please.
Just to dissect this whole narrative of force with knowledge and with love a little bit more. As an individual growing in that journey or walking or trying, how do you identify the aspects of force, the aspects of knowledge, the aspects of love, and how do you unify, making sure that you?
Yes, beautiful.
I mean, it's a.
Yeah. So if I have to start with very simply, knowledge is something which is typically the mind's interest in it. The interesting part is, as we all know, the mind may know something, but the will doesn't. The spirit the spirit is ready, but the flesh is unwilling. So that will belongs to the force. That's why in Tantra you have so much about will. Vedanta you have about knowledge. So there is the knowledge where you know the principles of existence, you know the truth of things. But to manifest that truth, you need force. And that's where the will has to be. I may know that speaking truth is wonderful, but yet every time there is an opportunity that comes, I end up speaking a lie because of lack of force. Now this force may take the form of courage, its absence in the form of fear, but primarily is the function of the will. So will in man is what represents the force, and whereas the mind in man represents knowledge. But these two alone, they may conquer the world, but what will be the life? It will lack delight. And if you look at this whole creation, it is meant for delight. If you look at the stars, so that's when love comes as the crown. Love is the crown. If you bring it in the beginning, when there is poor will and love comes in, as happens in certain cults, it degenerates into lust, it degenerates into attractions. If it comes before knowledge is born, then again this love can become a one-sided sentimental attachment. Again, it may cabin things. So first knowledge, as we see in the Gita, because that's easier and the base. So Shri Krishna first talks about knowledge, and chapter 1, 2, 3. Then he speaks about karma, because now whatever you know, you have to effectuate. Then as the crown comes love, and the basis of that love is that in everything there is none else but the divine. Even when you are engaging in a battle, even when you are called upon to kill, you are not hating, because the core in everyone is beautiful. There is nobody called as this our version of Christianity, if I may like. People say, oh, it's all about sinner. I said, we also have all these things. We don't regard anybody as sinner to start with, because in everybody the divine dwells, so we don't use the word sinner. So then what is the difference? In a saint, that divinity is more manifest. In a sinner, it's not manifest, if you want to put that distinction. So the first attempt should be to help him manifest, bring out that divinity. So we see that Rama sends envoys, and Pandava send envoy to change them, that because they know that divinity is there in every human being. But when all this fails, then the greater good of the world, Lok Sangrahat, takes precedence. And if such be the demand of time that there must be war, there must be war. So love is always the crown. It's in the heart. Knowledge must first do an initial purification. Will must search all the dark elements which are hidden, which are preventing this knowledge from being effective. And all life is an exercise in will. Actually, all life is a disclosure of knowledge. That's what also I say, because everything is a marvel. An ant knows how to call all its ants within seconds. Scientist studies and writes a book on it. How do the ants know this? Everywhere there is knowledge. And everywhere you see the manifestation of a force. Force restraining itself and making a beautiful flower. Force expanding itself into the galaxy. So everywhere we have all this. But as the crown must be love and delight. Because without love, creation will become meaningless. There will be no joy, ananda. So that's the whole thing. So all three get integrated, and that's why the vision of the integral divine, that's the thing towards which we must move. In human nature, Aurobindo says in his one of his plays, Perseus the Deliverer, that knowledge, love and strength are the triumvirate of man's manhood. So man is not complete if he has one but not the others. All three must be. Of course, manhood is womanhood also. It's a gender neutral statement. Yeah. All three must be there. Jai Ma. We are meeting tomorrow, no?